Welcome to the Sporting Crypto podcast, where we talk to leaders in sports and Web3. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Nico Julia, who is the co-founder and CEO of Sorare. How's it going, man?
Thank you for having us. It's having me, sorry.
Well, no. You're having me because I'm in your offices, and this is a great setup. So there you go.
Pleasure to be in your show. So I've been listening to your show for a long time. To me, it's the best pod in crossing the sports and crypto industries. So I'm very excited for this conversation.
No, I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell us a bit about your personal journey and your background?
Yeah. So look, I'm a massive sports fan, and I've been in crypto for more than 10 years, and passionate by the industry as well. So I know it's not really a job for me. Like it's just like amazing to be working at the intersection of these two industries. And the story is very simple. Like, as I said, I'm a massive sports fan. I've been collecting stuff, playing games, and doing lots of sports from early on. And when I went all in on my crypto journey, I found at some point NFTs, which were a technology that was interesting because that's digital property outside of the financial space, and I was looking at applications for sports and sports fans. And collecting to me was the first one, right? Like humans have been collecting for like long time in the physical world, and to me that was obvious that they will do it in the digital world. And then I was like, okay, that's nice, but what if we bring some superpower to these counts? So not only being able to collect them, but to play with them, and adding the fantasy game layer on top was like the big idea, and that's how we got started with my co-founder Adrien.
Amazing. And at that time, the infrastructure wasn't really there to do some of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So how hard was it to actually build what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was, as you said, like it was fast, it was very hard. We had to build ourselves lots of the part of the technical stack. It was back in 2018, and it was very expensive. So it was like, every time a coin was traded in the marketplace, it was $10 that we had to pay to the Ethereum network, right? So it was just crazy. And our crypto journey, infrastructure-wise, has been a very long one, like moving from Ethereum blockchain to a layer 2 called Loom network, back to the Ethereum, then up to Starkware layer 2, and then who knows what the future holds. But yeah, the early days we had to do a lot of stuff by ourselves, because from the first day we had this conviction that we needed to abstract the complexity of the technology for the end user. And the end user, the sports fan, should only feel the benefits of the technology, but not the pain. Like, I'm not in the business of educating about the technology. I'm in the business of delivering emotions and fun to sports fans. So like, I want them to understand that these coins are scarce. I want them to understand that they can trade these coins and make money out of them. I want them to make sure they understand that they can move these coins from games to games by experiencing it. Right? That's our goal.
And why don't you give us a bit of insight into how that journey has gone since 2018? Obviously, you exploded kind of onto the scene at the same time as the NFT boom.
21-22, yeah.
Yeah, 21-22. What was that kind of journey on the rocket ship like at that point?
Look, like from the very first day, maybe like an important point that is important to your audience is that we are an officially licensed product by more than 300 partners. So we probably have like the deepest portfolio in sports gaming generally, like in not only Web3 but Web2 and Web3. So you have the NBA, the Premier League, MLB, like all the top soccer leagues that are part of the journey, like not just partners but equity holders. Like a significant part of the cap table is owned by these leagues. Okay, so I'm trying to build decade-long relationships, and even from the first day, when we had only the Belgian league on board, so very limited content, we felt like passion, like a passion community, and so that's what it gave me the confidence that we should double down and keep on increasing the roster of partners and developing the gameplay and so on. But as you said, like the first big milestone for us of course, was the first partner, the Belgian league, then adding more teams and more leagues. Then, as you mentioned, late 21, even early 21, we started to see like the NFT boom. So that helped us because it enabled us to grow faster and to also arm ourselves to buy more rights and partner with more leagues. So that was 22, 23, and keep on growing the user base, of course. And fast forward to today, as I said, 300 partners. Last year, we've made 150 million in sales on the marketplace with 200,000 active users. Still early days to me, like feel like day one in terms of like where we are compared to the potential. But yeah, like some like very decent progress has been made, I would say.
I mean, let's talk about the potential bit for a second. You say it still feels like early days. What is the kind of what is the goal? If you look at it, you said decade-long relationships. If we look 2030, for example, what the goal is for Sorare to be?
I think I would separate, I think, two steps. I think step number one is to truly deliver on our mission, where we want every sports fan to be able to become a manager. Like that's really what we are trying to do. Meaning that's the place where you can buy and sell cards. You can feel like a trader. You can feel like a scout, identifying the next star and be rewarded for that. And you can play on the best fantasy sports game and have fun and emotions thanks to it. So basically have all the roles that you could have if you own a real sports team. So that's step number one. Then going a few years later, I want our product to be the place where sports fans not only have fun with collecting and playing, but also integrate a social component that is strong, meaning that you play with friends, you play against friends. So that's number one. Number two, the content is going to be important. So we're gonna have way more content to consume in the product. So that could take very different forms, but this is a very important part of the strategy. And number three, we are developing an ecosystem of side applications and side games that's going to be more and more important. There's already dozens of side games and applications that are built on top of our proper game, right? And this is something we're very excited and so we're going to double down on this, and we're going to announce stuff on that direction later on this year to help all these projects growing close to us, basically.
You kind of talked about your more infrastructure-led journey, where you've gone from ETH layer 1 to layer 2 back to ETH to layer 2. We've seen a lot of, and obviously times have changed from 2018, so we've both been in this space for a while, 2018 to 2021 and 2025. A lot of people in the crypto space and also on the enterprise space are taking the more composable right? So Uniswap have moved from Ethereum to their own layer 2. Base have their own layer 2. Apps have layer 3s on Base. Do you ever think that it would be advantageous, or like would you folks ever consider doing something like that, where you have more ownership over the kind of technical stack, but there's still the permissionless nature of it as well?
So it's a question. Unfortunately, I cannot reveal everything here. Like this is one major project for us this year, our crypto strategy. To be frank, like I was starting like this show saying that one of our goals has been to abstract the complexity. And today, like 90% of new users that come into the platform, they don't even know there's a blockchain and this and that's cool. I think we delivered on that, but maybe at the expense of being visible in the crypto community, which is our DNA, right? And so we are not truly leveraging the distribution effects of crypto of today. We are on a private implementation of a blockchain, and so yeah, we are not really leveraging this. So that's one of our big goals, to go to an open network to incentivize the creation of said applications sell games, to probably do co-marketing a bit more than what we are doing today, probably integrating the product a few crypto native features that we don't have today. To answer precisely your question about are we doing to develop our own layer, our own like that, I'm not sure. Like I'm not closing the door. I will never. But that's not my core business. My core business is being in the business of fantasy sports games and collectibles. That's why I want my product technical teams to focus most of the time.
Of course.
So yeah.
There's a lot to build, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
And look, I want to go back a little bit to the NFT boom, right? There was some months where you guys were doing a lot of volume. Obviously, the volumes have died down, but are still pretty significant in isolation, right? When you're speaking to rights holders, and when you were speaking to rights holders at the time, were you trying to be cautious and tell them, hey, this is going really well, but like, don't expect these numbers forever, you know, because we want to build something that's like long-standing outside of this bubble, right?
The reality is that we are creating a new category, like at this intersection of like collecting and playing games, with this unique twist of digital property brought by digital collectibles. But nobody knew back in the days, like if it was going to keep on growing and be something insane or slow down at some point. So like I'm not going to say that I was selling all right or not. So bro, like be cautious, you know, it's gonna, you know, it's crazy. You know, like the bubble is gonna burst in 2 months. No, like I was not saying that. I think nobody in the space now think that. To be totally transparent. Yes, like we knew that you know, like it was very quick. Like when in terms of growth, like when we co-founded this company with Adrien, we knew that the potential was massive, but we never anticipated such a strong growth so early on in our journey, right? So, but the reality is that most of our partners are much more mature when it comes to innovators and tech companies than one could think. And you know that there's lots of playbooks of companies that, you know, had like some like very strong growth early on, and then like some slowdown, and then some acceleration afterwards. And so again, when you look back and you're like, okay, it's a company, it's a product that's 5-6 years old, like doing 150 million in volume on the marketplace with like an important community and a big portfolio of partners. Like I think the achievements are still like massive. And when you dezoom from that bubble from 21, 22, and you adjust for that, like the growth is still pretty significant, right? So I think they recognize that, and that's one of the reasons why some of these deals that we sign them during the peak of the bubble. So sometimes for prices that were not sustainable. So, and that's the reason why like all of them, when looking at what happened in 23, 24, accepted to sit down with us, like revise these deals and stuck with us, you know, like even if it was for price tags that were very different from what what we had in the past.
And what were those discussions like? You said that the difference between 2021 and 2023 and 4 in terms of the maturity of those partners, when you went back to the table to you know, talk about those deals, what, you know, were there people who were kind of, you know, you don't have to name names, but were there people who are kind of like, oh, those are the deal terms, blah, blah, or are you in this position where because these businesses are integrated, they have a vested interest in like building with you and not just using you as a licensing partner?
Look, I think that, so as I said, we have more than 300 partners, so like there's like many variety in the conversations. What I can say is that if we kept all them, there's a strong reason, which is they all believe in the vision, they all believe in the potential of the category. they all believe that new generations of fans will need a new ways to engage with the sport, and that digital property is something that's gonna stick for a long time. So yeah, I think that has been the reason why, like, and when you look at it as well from a business perspective for them, we are a new revenue stream for them. We're not competing with anything. We created a new category, right?
Yeah.
So even if the gross, in terms of in terms of net revenue for them is not as strong as what they could have expected in 21 or 22, like, it's still new money for them, and it's still engagement, like, and new eyeballs on their products, which is valuable as well for them.
And data as well, right? Like you have a big free-to-play game as well, and like some of these teams and leagues, they don't really know their fans and who's engaging with them, and having that kind of new digital channel where you can say, hey, 27,000 people bought this Kylian Mbappe card, and we can see that 15,000 of them are Paris Saint-Germain fans, and 10,000 of them are fans of the French national team, and so on and so forth. Some of that data can be powerful as well, right?
Exactly. No, data matters a lot. It's an important part of this deal.
Yeah. And if we talk about kind of the kind of, as you said, the period of consolidation, but if we kind of look at it in isolation, the volumes are still really strong. How are you operating Sorare differently now in the current climate where you were, as you said, 150 in a year, rather than the kind of the maybe some of the bigger numbers we saw in 2021? What are the kind of key differences you're doing as a business to kind of progress things and move things forward?
I think we stay lean, even in 21, 22. Like we never went to hundreds or thousands in terms of employee count. So we stay lean. So I think that's something we do not regret. I think like the important change we've made is more like product or gameplay wise. So we moved from a world basically where when you buy your card, you can keep on paying it on the main game mode, and it keeps stronger and stronger, and you can win like the best prizes, and you have very little incentive to buy again and so on, which was a model that we thought could work, but that we realized like was not sustainable nor scalable. So we had to make a pivot gameplay wise, where to play the main game. You can still play with your all season cards, and they are useful in the game. But if you want to play in the main game mode, you need to have at least a few cards from the current season, right? So that was a difficult but necessary move that we made last summer, and I think that's the main adjustment that we've made.
Really interesting. Really want to get into some more things about the kind of the future and the other opportunities, and maybe some of your thoughts on the broader space. But for now, I'm going to thank some of our sponsors. Before we move on to part 2, I'm happy to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by the HBAR Foundation. The most beloved sports brands understand that what fans want is simple: a reason to be passionate. The HBAR Foundation enables brands and fans to share their passion on-chain using the Hedera network, the most used sustainable enterprise-grade DLT for the decentralized economy. Visit linkedin.com/company/HBAR Foundation to learn more and get the latest HBAR Foundation news. This podcast is also supported by Credenza. Credenza harnesses blockchain technology to power a real-time data synchronization platform that transforms customer data ecosystems. They make data more relevant and actionable for sports brands, teams, leagues, and IP. Find out more at credenza3.com. That's credenza3.com. Welcome back to part 2, where we talk a little bit more about the future of sports and Web3, but also in this case, Sorare specifically. So you kind of touched on potentially different social experiences, content, products. What are you seeing right now in the market where you're like, that's pretty cool? we could think about that as a business.
Yeah, in terms of, you mean technical infrastructure and
product, technical infrastructure, anything that excites you. I mean, we were talking just off air now, Telegram gaming's become a really big thing.
Telegram gaming is definitely something that we are looking at.
Okay.
And I've been trying to play with some of the games like Kate Season. I don't know if you tried some of them.
Do you know what?
I'm not the target audience.
I'm not either. And do you know what? We probably use it both for work, and the people in crypto I speak to, they're like, I spend enough time on Telegram working. I don't want to play games there as well. But it's like when LinkedIn have games now. Like I don't want to play the games on LinkedIn. So similar kind of thing. But it's the numbers are
the distribution is crazy, and some of these games have dozens of millions of active users. So we are very happy to have a great partner with Sancoin. But like as a CEO, of course, I need to have like a broader look at what exists elsewhere. So Telegram is definitely very, very interesting, and there's 1 billion users there, right? So distribution is massive. Of course, I think that what Coinbase is doing with Base is interesting too. Like it's a very different play, but they have, I think, 100 million customers. They've probably close to 1 million subscriber at Coinbase One, which is like they're very active community, and there's a trading ecosystem on Base that is starting to develop. Solana, I mean, if you look at pretty any metrics, they would probably lead the charge in terms of TVL, in terms of developers building, in terms of app revenue, and so on. So there's a lot to love as well, and there are many other challengers that I'm sure you know, like Avalanche and Sui, and like many others. So it's I guess very exciting times. Like there's no very clear leader which is like years ahead of competition. So yeah, we need to follow that closely, I guess.
We talked about Telegram gaming just then. Like obviously what they've done with the Ton blockchain and kind of closing that ecosystem off. Is it now more difficult for someone in your position? I have spoken to a lot of people in gaming specifically who are kind of like, well, we've built this thing on this blockchain and we have it on Telegram, but now we have to shift to the Ton network. Would that kind of like conflict a bit with the ethos that you want, which is to open things up rather than be in a closed loop system?
Yeah, I think that number one, I think that all this is not forever, right? And there's like many smart people thinking in terms of interoperability and, we can link all those ecosystem at some point. It's going to take some time for that to happen, right? But they're
coming though, Layer 0 is growing a lot.
Exactly.
And a few other protocols as well.
Exactly. So I think that's number one. And number two, I agree with you that, the more open an ecosystem is, the better it is for us as a business. So this is definitely one of the considerations, not the only, but one of the considerations that we are looking at.
We've seen a bunch of, since you launched Sorare, we've seen a bunch of other types of products, right? And you came at the same time, maybe a bit later than Dapper Labs and Top Shot, that kind of like collectible moment. We've seen kind of incumbents like Panini do really well recently. We recently wrote a piece where they did, they matched their peak volume from 3 years ago with collectibles. We've had the NFL Rivals CEO, John Linden from Mythical Games come on, and they've built something pretty interesting as well with like a kind of forever ecosystem in a mobile game. We talked a little bit about some of the other things that Sorare could get into. Do you look at any of those types of products and think, okay, that could be interesting for us to play in or build something akin to it or partner with them as well?
I think it's amazing to see the depths of games and sports games in the Web3 ecosystem, and we are in touch with a variety of these names that you mentioned. So I always think that we are all growing the pie together, right? So we all have kind of like major differences in terms of gameplay, in terms of approach, in terms of user persona, and so on. At some point, like back in the days in 21, like if blockchain or Web3 or crypto was in the name of the company, like users or some partners thought that we were competing. Like even like socios, like people was like, oh, yeah, like you're competing with socios, like no, like it's nothing to do, So, they use the technology in a different way, like like there's dozens of companies like this that operate in sports with the use of crypto that we have like very little to do with, instead like excluding the underlying technology. So yeah, we are very open to partner with them, and we are also like very excited to see like the number of projects that are the Sorare of, like the Sorare of rugby, the Sorare of tennis. Like there are a lot of these projects, and that's cool. But I mean, when you look at volumes, you're mentioning volumes. I think we are also excited to see that in 21, 22, 23, 24, by far we are still leading the charge. And this year we're going to keep on growing and making sure that we keep on leading the charge.
And you mentioned different sports there.
Yeah.
Right? Football, soccer, sorry.
Yeah.
For us, football. Baseball, NBA.
Yeah.
What are the key differences between the audiences there? Like, have you had to change your approach when you're building these products for these different audiences?
Yeah, I think that we've been obsessed with like the fact that we needed to adjust the gameplay to cater to this different audience, and at the same time stay true to our DNA and to our core value proposition, and to these two pillars of, yes, you're gonna play fantasy sports and collect cards that you can trade and own for forever. So I think that's something that has been an integral part of our approach. So they are all in the same product, so you can switch between sports, but you have a gameplay that is adjusted to the specificities of the sports and to the different needs of these audiences. But in the end, like part of my vision is also to aggregate liquidity between all the sports, and at some point that you can trade LeBron against Mbappe on the same marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's an integral part of the vision.
And when you talk about other sports as well, so you mentioned tennis, rugby, etc. Have you looked at other sports as potentially bringing them in? Have some of them been a bit too difficult because maybe they have like very difficult rights systems? What have some of the conversations been like on that side as well?
I mean, by far, we have the most difficult sport on board already, which is football. In terms of fragmentation, like it's crazy. It's truly crazy, right? Like you have, so it has been a very long journey of 5 years to build that portfolio, which is something that very few companies in history of sport gaming have done. Like EA, of course,
yeah.
Panini that you mentioned, and like not a lot of others that I know. So yeah, that has been like a very long but also very rewarding journey. And right now we're at a place where like, okay, we had to go very fast in 22 to sign these deals because the momentum was here, and like in front of us we had a lot of competition from much bigger companies than us and US companies trying to get these deals. And then we signed these deals and we launched this product way faster than what we would have done according to the plan, because the football product was still like very mature back in the days, right? So right now my focus, my obsession is to delight my partners and my fans, and so consolidate this network of partner and grow these products. And so we have a lot of conversations with other rate holders that would love to be part of the platform, but the only thing I can say is the moment we would go with 1, 2, 3, 4 new sports, new partners, like we would be ready. And I know again, like the focus is really to make sure we have world-class products for all the free sports that we have on the platform.
Makes total sense. Don't grow when you're not ready in terms of like other games and other sports. We were talking a bit off air about the regulatory changes between like when you launched, and then I think the next key moment is probably FTX, next FTX, that moment as well, and currently where we're seeing probably the best and most mature regulatory environment in Europe. You've got MiCA in France. You've got quite a progressive government when it comes to crypto assets. The US, we're now seeing legislation should be here by the end of the year across all types of crypto assets. The UK said they're going to have crypto assets legislation by 2026. So it all feels like it's coming. How different is it from when you launched and the conversations you're having now?
From the first day, I knew that, number one, we are launching a new category. There's no existing framework that can fit. Number two, I want to work with the regulators and to have a very proactive approach to help find something that is balanced between protection of the fans and flexibility for innovation. That has been really our North Star from day one. Then coming to like what's happening right now in Europe in particular. So you mentioned MiCA, which is a regulation for digital assets. So digital collectibles are not considered digital assets. So we are not concerned by this, but we are concerned with like something else. So in France, we had a law that has been voted recently called Genum. So in English, it is basically games where you can monetize in-game items. Okay. So it's exactly the category that we've been creating.
Okay.
And so no, the decrees are going to be validated in the coming weeks. So
does that include all games? So like EA and your Fortnite?
So it's slightly different because in EA, you cannot resell your account for money.
Right. I think anything that can be resold.
Exactly. So one of the big differences with the category that we've created is that with true ownership of your game item, you can resell it for real money. In EA, like there's, I think, 1.5 billion euros of cards sold every year.
Yeah.
But at the end of the season, you need to buy again, and you cannot resell for real money, right? So we have this framework. Like hopefully, it will be then applied elsewhere in Europe, and this is something that we love because clarity is always good to build a business. You can build your product, you can market your product, you have clarity for your investors, you have protections and clarity for your community. So that's what we've been looking for a long time, and it's coming.
And of course, like we talked about the US for a second as well, that is obviously like a huge market for fantasy, absolutely rabid and huge, whether it's in soccer, NFL, NBA, MLB. But they have quite, they're in an interesting moment right now when it comes to regulation on the prediction market side and how the CFTC are handling that on the federal level, and then you also have crypto task force that are working on the more crypto asset level. So there feels like there's going to be a lot of clarity there in the next 18 months on a host of different categories. Do you think that can help you as well?
Definitely. And so you mentioned that the US is massive in terms of fantasy sports, but it's also massive in terms of collectibles. So basically, we are built in between these two pillars, like fantasy sports collectibles, with this unique twist of digital ownership and property of the cards across the seasons. So it's a very important market for us already, and it's going to be even more in the future. And in terms of clarity, like we are, happy to see that NFTs, digital collectibles, are not considered securities, which is like seems obvious, but like needed to be said. And no, I think that there's a will to bring flexibility for innovators like us to operate and grow markets in Web3 in the US, which we can only welcome.
Let's finish up on kind of like more broadly where you're excited. I mean, we talked about some of the infrastructure side of things, gaming as well. Is there anything you missed that you think are like big opportunities in the kind of sports and Web3 space over the next 3 or 4 years?
I think you know the landscape better than I do in terms of media rights and the sailings and that we see across all the big media deals. So I think there's a real opportunity to reinvent some of the relationships between rate owners and partners, because I truly believe that we can not only help drive more revenue by deeper integrations, and at some point, like we're gonna explore very soon broadcast integrations as well, but also bring more eyeballs to the products. So probably not for the top 3 leagues, but for all others, we've been significant drivers of new eyeballs for them. Like we have dozens of thousands of fans that were watching, like, I don't know, the Bundesliga, and that thanks to our product discovered other leagues like the MLS, like the G League, like the K League, and became fans of one team and started watching. And so I think it's growing the pie for everyone.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think there is that kind of like, there is probably some players that have more followers on Sorare than they do on X and Instagram, which is a funny.
I mean, if you put the top 10 or top 15 players aside, like I think it's the case for the vast majority of or an important majority of other players.
Yeah, that's really funny. You mentioned media rights there. I mean, obviously, well documented Liga and Serie A, like the broadcast rights have either plateaued or they've gone down, which I think is hurting a lot of the clubs. Do you think that gives you not an advantage, but because all these teams are very reliant on that revenue, that they are more open to kind of innovative approaches that could drive them new fandom, new engagement, and in the end, new revenue as well? Because the majority of the revenue usually comes from those broadcast deals. They slow down, they still need to find new ways to kind of supplement that revenue, right?
Yeah, no, I think we cannot really be happy about this because, like in the end, there's real people working in clubs that are being affected, and that's hurting a lot. I think it's going to hurt the quality also of the product because the salaries that can be paid cannot be the same anymore for certain leagues and so on. So as a fan, like that's painful. At the same time, yes, there's opportunities to drive revenues. I believe that leagues they are in the business of organizing cool competitions and building a cool product around this. Some of them probably will move in being into the business of broadcasting. At least some of them won't, and it's already a lot. And I believe that they cannot be in the business of everything touching sports fandom, like collecting and gaming and so on. And so I think the right approach is really to rely on experts that are building in a very specific category all day long. And that's where we can bring value, bring eyeballs, and bring revenue.
Well, I think that's all we've got time for. Nico, where can people find out more about you?
So I'm on Twitter, active, and my handle is NI2LAS. And then I'm LinkedIn, Instagram. Not TikTok yet.
Not yet. But with the studio, maybe.
Maybe.
Thanks everyone for watching or listening. You can find me at Pep Barisha on Twitter or LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to the newsletter at newsletter.sportingcrypto.com. Please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you find it. Just type in Sporting Crypto on any of those platforms. Just remember that none of what we've said during this show is financial or business advice, and this content is for informational purposes only. Web3 is underpinned by crypto, and crypto is volatile, meaning you can lose money if you're buying these assets personally or as a business. The majority of crypto asset companies right now are unregulated. Thank you very much for listening or watching once more. We'll have more Sporting Crypto content for you soon.